Thanks, Catherine, for the pictures. They're beautiful.
Yeah, they're beautiful, but they don't, I don't
Not
know.
close to, I'm sure, what the experience of seeing them.
Yeah, the experience was really something very, I mean, really moving and very deep. But anyway,
Well, thank you.
you're very welcome. Thanks to you, because otherwise I'm not sure that I would have gone,
Mm,
given the time that you needed to just like, make an appointment and go there.
sure. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you went.
Are you talking about Olga?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, she's amazing. Okay, so I want to start by showing you guys a video, and this is something kind of sideways, but I think you'll enjoy it. I think I'll play it twice. It's just a 1 minute video. I'm just going to play it the first time. Just watch it like you're in the audience watching this. This is a little 1 minute video from a competition. Just watch it. And then the second time, I'm going to give you some instructions, right? So it's queued
Okay,
up. Let me get, let me,
I need to leave 5 minutes before the hour. Okay, like
no problem, no problem.
okay.
I can't make it any bigger. Oh yeah, I can make it bigger. Hold on.
Bravo.
Okay. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So the guy who's closest to us wins, but he wins with a very particular strategy. Let's watch it one more time, and then I want you guys to tell me what his strategy is. It's very deliberate.
This is cool.
Those guys are amazing, aren't they?
In another life, I will play like that.
Me too. It may be several lives down the line though. Okay. What was the guy closest to us had a very conscious, deliberate strategy? What was it?
Answering the other guy was really like smashing all the time, which is like exhausting.
Yes.
Exhausting. I mean, he was
Yes.
using all his power and his energy, and the
Yes.
other was just responding very just responding in a way that the guy was surprised and he didn't even have any choice than smashing again.
So yes. So Jack, you were going to say something.
Yeah, so
Yes, Catherine.
the guy close, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the guy closest to us, he started off a little bit aggressive. Like it's like he gave him some pung, right? He gave him something to respond to. And then his strategy, and then he was very relaxed and he gave himself plenty of distance and he let the other guy be aggressive, just like Catherine said, the entire time. Hopefully, eventually, maybe the guy would tire out, maybe he wouldn't. And then
He
at
came
the
back.
very end, he turned the tables on him because the guy was in the mindset of his opponent being defensive, and then he just wiped him out in 3 or 4 shots.
Exactly. It was classic rope-a-dope. It was just like Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman. Muhammad Ali Foreman was a very formidable boxer, and he just let Foreman wear himself out. He just crouched and he just let him hit him and hit him and hit him and hit him and hit him for like 8 rounds until George Foreman was exhausted. And then, and in the meantime, Ali's conserving his energy, and when he feels the time is right, suddenly it all changes, and it was just bam, 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 and George Foreman was out on the
Yeah, it's exactly how I play.
That's that's exactly what happened with these tennis guys. Did you notice the real aggressive guy? It was always ho, ho, and at a certain point, he couldn't even do the hose anymore.
Yeah.
He was just like he just shut up and was hitting, and he literally exhausted himself, and then the guy killed him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's in a way that's Tai Chi sparring in a nutshell. All right, it's not about beating the other guy up. It's about reserving your own energy. And he was right there. I mean, he returned. I couldn't return all those nasty shots. That guy, he had no problem. He just returned. And did you notice all his returns were just sort of lobs? They were just nice, soft lobs. He wasn't trying to smash him. It was just a lob and a lob and a lob, waiting for that other guy to exhaust himself. If you ever get into a street fight, that's a good way to do it. Just, just, just
We'll
stay
think
calm.
of it.
Just stay calm and let the other guy wear himself out.
Malcolm,
Yeah.
one of the problems is if you get jumped by 3 guys, you're done.
I was with some other guys and we were working with a Chinese master in China, and who happened to speak English pretty well. And one of the other guys asked him, because I think there were 3 or 4 of us. He said, "What if we all jump you and start to beat you up?" And he said, "Oh, I'll just pick one of you and kill you." All right, I'm just going to pick one of you, maybe you, since you asked the question. All right, that's the way to do it. You can't fight 4 people. But if you watch fights on street fights on YouTube, for instance, just spontaneous fights, that's not how they go. There's not, even if there's 4 guys against 1, all 4 guys don't get in there and beat on him. It's usually just 1, maybe 2, and usually just 1 at a time. which is kind of stupid, but you know, if you've ever been in a fight, a real fight, you might recognize that there is a negotiation that goes on. It's a silent negotiation, and it's like, are we going to fight at this level, this level, this level, or this level? Am I going to have to kill you, or are we just going to yell at each other? And that, in a sense, that's what a fight actually is a negotiation. And it's done through body language, through words, but not really the words per se, but the emotion within the words, et cetera, et cetera. And usually you can negotiate. You can negotiate down, because the truth is nobody wants to either die or kill somebody. I mean, there are things that happen like that, but most of the time it's not that way. It's just more a matter of, you know, puffing up your chest and, you know, I'm the big guy, and the other guy's, oh, I'm the big guy, et cetera, et cetera. Here, I'll tell you a story, and then we'll do some exercises. I was driving home in San Francisco once, and I was up in our neighborhood, just a block from home. And we lived on Mount Davidson? I can't even remember anymore.
Yes.
Mount Davidson.
Yes.
So the streets up there, this was built back in the 20s. The streets have parking on both sides, and there's only one lane in between. There is no way that two cars can pass. I mean, it's not even close. So I'm driving home, and I come up on a guy who is stopped in the middle of the road. And there's nowhere to go. You can't get around him. You know, there's only like 2 feet on each side of his car before you get to the parked cars. And the reason he stopped is there's another car coming the other way, and he stopped. So these two cars are facing each other, and they're basically, I'm not going to move, and then the other guy's not going to move. So they're just sitting there. And I'm like, you know, God, guys, it's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm tired. I want to get home. And I got out of my car, and I walked by the first car, and it was a white guy, and he was kind of a skinny little white guy, and I knew I wasn't going to get anywhere with him. Besides, my car was right behind him. So I walked up to the next car, not right up to the window, but, you know, on the sidewalk, not just a few feet away, 10 feet away. And I looked at the guy, and he was a huge black guy, probably Samoan. I mean, he looked South Pacific, and he was big and strong. And I said, just spontaneously, I said, "Be the bigger man." And he goes, "What?" And I said, "Be the bigger man." And he goes, you could just see the wheels turning in his head. And he goes, "Okay." And he puts it in reverse and backs up and lets that other guy go and me go too, right? So if I had to think about it, I never would have known what to say. But that was the perfect thing to say, because it gave him an out. You can back down because you're being the bigger man. Of course, he was the bigger man, probably by 200 pounds. But, right? It worked. There's a line in the I Ching, or in the Tao Te Ching. No fight, no blame. That's the final line. I can't remember which one that's in. We'll have to look it up, right? No fight, no blame. Anyway, that's one of my favorite stories, because that was it was like, oh, I actually solved a problem. All right, it was kind of cool. All right, so yesterday we were working on this. Jill, were you here yesterday? You were not, were you?
Nope.
Yesterday we were working on the 3 ways that you need to coordinate in your body to do silk reeling exercises, and thus Tai Chi and thus Qigong. And one set of things, of two things you need to coordinate, are the left and right side of the body. The second things are the lower body and the upper body. The third thing is the inner body and the outer body. So, right, all three dimensions have to happen at the same time. But what we were particularly looking at yesterday was coordinating the left side of the body and the right side of the body, right? Hold on a second, guys. It's really cold up here today. It's actually warmed up. It's now 21 degrees. So I'm going to turn the big heater off. And I'm going to put some of my costumes on. So what I was saying yesterday is that most of the silk reeling exercises have to include, within all the other stuff you got to do, coordinating left and right side of the bodies. And I think we did a couple of moves. We'll do a couple more today. But the idea is just to get the idea in your head, and then you guys look for it whenever we do the silk reeling, and look for it in your Tai Chi. Maybe we'll do a couple of moves from the Tai Chi form today too, and you can see that. All right, but one of the moves we were doing was just a punching move. Now, you can do a punch with just one hand, right? But in the form and in the exercises, you actually are using the other hand. And that other hand, if the punch is considered to be aggressive, which is pretty aggressive, so my right side here would be the aggressive side, right? And my left side would be the defensive side. So this might be this is a kind of way of blocking. We actually do it in the second move. All right, watch. All right, what you're doing is somebody's arm is in here. He's grabbed hold of you here, right? Or maybe even out on the wrist. And what you do is you come over his arm, and then you just lean on his arm and turn your body. And that will, I mean, he's going to have to come with you because your weight is moving. Boom. So this is a yang side on the right side. If the right side is yang, right? The right side is yang, then the left side needs to be yin. There are times when you can do yang on both sides, right? So I might punch this guy, and I might punch somebody behind me. So I'll give him an elbow strike, right? But for the most part, it's yang on one side and yin on the other, right? And if we do it on this side, right, it's just the same. Right? Then we moved on to another move here, which is actually a china. It's a joint lock. So you get into a little bigger horse stance. China. China. Joint lock. Joint lock. Joint lock. And what I was focusing on, what were the KUA. The KUA are absolutely essential to pay attention to them in any Tai Chi or Qigong move. And they tend to be sort of locked up in modern people because we spend so much of our time sitting on our butts. And so the KUA can be considered the hip joints. So the hip joints are in here, they're not out here, they're in here where these lines are, right? And you want them to be able to flex. If your habit is to keep them sort of locked up because you're sitting in a chair, it's kind of a bad habit. So when you do this move, watch the red. I'm closing the red. Now, I'm not doing anything to close it. I'm just saying you need to be aware that you're going to close it. It's closing, right? It's closing there. Close. Well, if this side is closing, what do you think this side is doing? Opening, right? So you're going to close here and you're going to open here. Right? Close, open. And obviously the same on the other side, right? Now the blue is closing, the red is opening. Okay, and then we finished talking about how you close and open. So this whole discussion worked up to this one point, how you close and open. It is not a hinge joint. In other words, you could describe this closing here as like a hinge that's closing like this, but that's not a good image for that. The way it's closing is the same way a spring closes. All right? That's closing. That's opening. Close, open, close, open. Now, the spring has an axis or an axle that goes right through the middle. So does your body. So if I'm doing this move, the axle goes from the Yun Chuan on the bottom of this foot, that's the foot that's carrying the weight, and it comes up to the hip joint and then goes to the Dan Chen. So there's a straight line. Just imagine a straight line there. And that's like a spring. And you just close the spring. Open the spring, close the spring, open the spring, close, open, close, open, close, open, close, open. Or the other side, close, open, close, open, close, open, close, open. What you do not want to do is this. All right? You don't want to bend the spring. You just want the spring to close and open. It's the most efficient way to move it. And it's an absolutely painless and it's a completely natural way to move it. As you get that image in your mind, there's no bending over, there's no twisting around. You just close, open, close. And on this side, close, open, close, close, open, close, open, close, open, close, open. And because this is a straight line between the bottom of your foot and your Dan Chen, right through your hip joint, then your whole upper body, especially the Chongmai, the central column, is very well supported. Right? It's not this. You see people do that all the time. Right? They're going to do something to the guy here, so they come down like this. When you do that, you lose your structure. And when you lose your structure, you're going to lose a lot of your strength. In fact, when I close, Catherine, I want you to tell me, when I close, I'm going to do a close. I want you to tell me what I should do at the top of my head. Should it be like this or should it be like this?
No, up, up.
Yes. Yeah, because there's all this energy going down, so something needs to go up. All right, same way on the other side. So, you know, a lot of, when you watch young people, both in the United States and in China, do Tai Chi in a tournament, the way they will be rewarded often is their athletic ability. So they're extraordinary athletic abilities, and they are pretty extraordinary. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you watch older masters, you know, they're past the age where you do extraordinary athletic things. They're doing something else. When you watch the Olympics and you watch the equestrians, they'll talk about conformation. The conformation of the horse, the conformation of the rider, and the conformation of the two of them together. That's really what makes Tai Chi really beautiful, is your conformation. Is this beautiful? Or is that beautiful? Or at least more beautiful, all right? So these things are not only effective, they're also beautiful. And I think they're beautiful because they are effective. Yes, Joe.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wouldn't put the word beautiful, but they appear strong.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that in that, you know, just like it's more of a sense of that it's rightness.
Yeah, it's rightness. It looks effective. And
Yeah.
you know, when Jack is standing in a horse stance like he's standing right now, to
Mhm.
my eyes, that's beautiful. Look at the arch of his legs. That's really beautiful. Now, we could ask Jack to get ugly, and he could probably get an ugly stance really quick. There you go. And it's true that it's ugly, and it's also what Jill just said is true too. It's ugly because it doesn't look functional. It looks like it's collapsing or something. And you know, collapse is okay in a play or something. Of course, you might have moments of collapse to do that, but when you're doing Tai Chi, I don't think you want to do any collapse. The last thing that we talked, or close to the last thing we talked about yesterday, was not letting your knee fall in, or knees, your off knee. All right. So I'm gonna do this wrong. You'll see what I mean. Bude, bude, not correct. When the knee has very limited rotational power, and you could really tweak your knee if you're asking it to do something that it doesn't do. The knee does work kind of like this. It doesn't work on twists very well. So when you go down here, your knee has to go out the other direction. It's going to go out, not in. That's again functional, beautiful, right? But you also avoid any problems with your knees. As you twist your knee in like that, you're going to screw yourself up. Also, if you happen to be in a fight and your opponent sees you doing that, he's going to kick you in the knee the next time you do it. And that'll probably be the end of the match. Okay, let's go on and do a couple of more moves here. So another one that's really classic. So we're focusing on the moves where this is really obvious what you're doing. Right? Is lazy dragon. Now, there's an aspect of lazy dragon that I have not emphasized so far. So in fact, I'm gonna do lazy dragon just with one arm. This arm is an escape. Sometimes you do lazy dragon with a partner who grabs your hand, right? And he's going to try to twist your hand like this. What you do is you follow him and twist your way out. And then he does it again. You bring it up and he does it again. He never lets go of you, right? Boom. 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 But you can also use the other hand. So that's defensive, right? You're escaping. You can follow the escape with an attack, and it looks like this. And then on the other side, attack. Or you could just say push. So, one hand is being defensive, and at the same time, the other hand is being offensive. And what we were talking about, Joe, is that both of them are being driven by one single rotational axis at the same time, right? I'm going to rotate on this axis, right? But I'm going to rotate on this axis. They're both happening from the same rotation. Right? Escape and push, 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 right? So it's all about left-right coordination, but it's also about upper body and lower body, because there's quite a bit going on in the upper body. And the place where the upper body and the lower body meet are the KUA. Right? It's not really the waist. Waist is upper body. Right? The KUA is where your lower body starts. So you got to pay attention to the KUA when you do this too. The big mistake most people make at the beginning is to raise their KUA. It's too high. Yeah, I'm not sinking in the KUA. Does this all make sense? Jill, does this make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. We're gonna do a little bit on the Tai Chi form so you can see it. This happens in the Tai Chi form too. You can't focus on this when you're just first learning the form. It's way too much. But all you guys have done enough of it that you should be able to just do the move without thinking about it. And now you can begin to focus on what's going on inside. Well, let me tell you a story. Years and years ago in Master Zhang's class, I was pushing hands with Michael Shea, and some of you may know, Jack knows Michael because he works with him all the time. So he and I were just pushing hands, right? And Master Zhang came up and he watched us for a minute or two. And then he says to Michael in Chinese, he says something. And Michael looked a little crestfallen, and Master Zhang went on. And I said, well, Michael, what did you say? He said, I'm cheating. I'm cheating. I said, well, what did you mean? Because we weren't really doing anything competitive, just very, very gentle. And he said, I'm cheating because I'm not sinking in my KUA, I'm sinking in my knees. In other words, when I would push in a little bit, he would sink in his knees instead of sinking in his KUA. When you sink in your knees, you're already half out. The guy's just going to push you out. one of the things you do when you're pushing is you listen. You don't use your eyes. You feel the other person's energy. And when you feel the knees begin to buckle, all you got to do is push into the knees and he'll fall over. All right, so you don't want to get into a bad habit of syncing with your knees. That doesn't mean sometimes your knees don't go down, because they do. But when you use them as a substitute for syncing in the hips, it doesn't work. So Michael had to work over the next couple of years on developing the ability to take a push, to take someone's energy and use his KUA like those springs that I just showed you. When someone pushes into you, you just let the spring close. And as soon as he stops pushing, it comes back up. Right? That kind of thing is very internal. So someone who's good at it, you don't really see it from the outside. Where someone bending in the knees, right, you're going to see it. Now, Jack, don't ask him about this. Don't ask him about this. Don't.
I would never do that.
Oh, tell him I said hi. But you see what I mean? It's like the knees do close like hinges, and they just don't have as much power to act as springs. Where your hips are much more. See you next time, Catherine. Where your hips are much more like springs. So when someone's pushing on you and the energy comes in, you just let these close. Now, as with anything, that's not the end all and be all of everything. You know, if the guy's 350 pounds, he's going to overwhelm you. You don't just stand there and let him do that. But it will buy you a half a second or a second. And for a lot of times, it'll buy you everything you need to get out of this situation. Does this make sense? Jill? Yes? Okay. I tell you what, let's do the form. Let's start with the second move. All right. I want you to pay attention to the KUA and to the left and right side of the body. We'll do the second move, and the third move. So if you're paying attention to that, hopefully you realize these things work like pistons on both sides, right? And they never stop from the beginning to the end of the form. They're just going like this. You want to make sure that you keep them in good shape, which means you don't overextend them. This is hyperextension. Lots of folks hyperextend their hips. So you push them on the shoulders and they'll go like this. That's hyperextension. Now there's no longer any flexibility. It's as if I'm not strong enough to do it, and I don't want to do it because I don't want to ruin this, but it's as if I pulled this spring out and now it's not a spring anymore, it's just a wire. All right, the springiness is gone. So when someone pushes on you, don't go back like this. Go back like this. Right? He pushes on you, go back butt first. That keeps these in place so that you can actually use them. All right, any questions?
I was just gonna mention, when I work out with Michael, there's one of these exercises in push hands we do where one person is starting to chin, you step between their feet and you come up to knock them over.
Right.
So, but you're never like bending and you're never trying to exert leverage from your trunk. All you're basically doing is standing up and opening your chest, and you can throw the person without, what you would normally think, I got to bend back to knock them over or something.
If you try that and bending back, all he's got to do is push you here, and you're going to fall on your butt. Yeah. So these are, we're not a martial school. What I'm interested in is you guys getting your energy bodies. This is actually a really, really important part of that developing awareness are your hip joints, your KUA. I don't like to call them hips. I like to call it KUA because it's a little more mysterious. And the truth is, it is a little mysterious. This is a basket, and your Dantian sits in that basket. But it's a dynamic basket. It's moving all the time, or at least it should be moving all the time. Right? And you can learn a tremendous amount about your own body by watching yourself in a mirror. I'm serious. Get yourself some colored tape and wear a pair of pants and put this on and do those two moves that we just did and watch and feel what's going on. A lot of the movements seem relatively subtle, but everything depends on those. All right? When you're shifting your weight, shifting. Now I'm opening the red and closing the blue. All right? Now I'm closing the red and opening the blue. Now I'm closing the red. Now I'm opening the red. Now I'm closing the red. Open the red. Close the red. Open the red. That comes as close to hyperextending as you want to get. But you don't want to hyperextend it too much. You want to stay between 20 and 80. Don't go to 0 and don't go to 100. Stay between 20 and 80 or so. Okay, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll do a little more tomorrow.